Good morning. I thought since I am 9 days out from my second chemo infusion and doing really quite well, I'd share what's happened so that maybe if you don't have all the facts, maybe this would be a help for you too. My chemotherapy, I may have mentioned, was broken up into 4 parts. One was to protect my stomach and give me a lot of dexamethasone. Second one was giving me sodium to make my veins pop. The third, which was a 3-hour infusion, was all the pre-medications that my doctor thought I would need. And she's at Cornell. And then I got the Taxol. One of the reasons we're all getting the same chemo that our friends got so many years ago is because Bristol Myers Squibb has a lock on the configuration of the product. People have cracked it. People know that they can do things differently and probably have less side effects, but Bristol Myers Squibb's patents prevent anyone from breaking into their product that they've had a lock on for 20 some odd years. It's time for a change. It's time for new products. I remember years ago when I was speaking to some lawyers in the patent office, and I said, "What's pharmaceutical doing? Are they asking for new products? Are they doing new research and development?" And the answer was, no, they're just merely altering a piece of the chemistry and then proceeding with what they've got. So my talking about chemo is really talking about us and the mentality of corporations today. But before I get into that, I'd like to give you some tips that I've picked up along the way that make my life comfortable. And as you can see, I'm eating. I am eating 3 meals a day, salads, figs. I made a chicken cacciatore, which is chicken with all kinds of vegetables and tomato sauce. And you gotta believe I well seasoned it. I was fine. I also have the neuropathy, the foot neuropathy that many of you have. Why I had to lose fat on my feet, that's beyond me, but I have. And so what I've done, and I am not getting paid to speak about these products, I just use them. I use Cetaphil daily. After I take my shower, I use it on my feet. And then I put a gauze pad into the Cetaphil on the bottom of my feet, put on heavy socks, and slip them into very comfortable sneakers or shoes. I actually purchased shoes made here in America, or at least they say they come from Austin, Texas. They're called SAS, and they're incredibly comfortable and cushioned. I also like New Balance sneakers because they too are cushioned. The other product that I have, because we all know that chemo is supposed to be extremely harsh on our systems and binding. Well, the nutritionist at Cornell recommended Miralax. In New York City, it's expensive. It's about 47 cents a day, but it clears the chemo on a regular basis. And so I'm hooked. I think the Miralax works, and I'm not changing for anything at this point. If it works, it's good. Also, as you've noticed, I love hats. I am not getting a wig. I do have a couple of hairs left, but even so, I'm not getting a wig. For me, hats are the way to go. I've always worn them. And to make them fit, I'm using something that you would put on your feet. Moleskin. It's Dr. Scholl's moleskin. And I cut it into little teeny strips. And if I need to use a folded over gauze pad to make my hats fit just right with the moleskin, I do that too. But that works so that my hats are now secure on my head. As you remember, I had a lot of hair. So I don't know if these tips are helpful for you. They work for me. And so that's why I'm letting you know what I do. Maybe it'll help you too. We can only hope, because we all react differently to the chemo. And now let's discuss us and the corporate world. This is not the corporate world I grew up in or that I perpetuated. When I worked at Ford Motor Company in the 70s, late 70s, you better believe when we knew that there was going to be a tire shortage, did Ford wait to purchase tires? No. We had 5,000 tires stockpiled, waiting to go if the strike ever occurred. I remember the union workers made $40 an hour, and we had full-time nursing and staff on call every single shift. And there were benefits because it was the UAW. If the UAW didn't get what it wanted when the contracts were up, every time they negotiated, it was Ford, GM, or Chrysler, or someone that was struck. And they got what they needed. Labor was doing quite well. That's not the case today. Corporations appear to be too short-sighted. This inflationary spiral that we're going into, it could have been avoided. After all, at the beginning of the pandemic, American manufacturers had a lot of goods and services in Vietnam. They could have taken possession of those goods and services then. 51%, as I've said before, of our textiles and shoes comes from Vietnam. Would I know in 2021, when I'm ready to buy again, or 22, that it was made in 2020 when I didn't buy it? No, I wouldn't have known. Vietnam was ready to ship then. But no, they opted out. They didn't take those goods. And so now we have a supply chain backup. It's not Vietnam's fault. They suffered mightily when they weren't paid. And now everything's in containers waiting to be unloaded. I understand that there's 24/7 activity out there in all the ports. But I think that government is forgetting the truckers and other folks who were involved in the supply chain. Those truckers weren't making a living. Nobody cared how much debt they were in. Just like the taxi cabs in New York. Nobody cared how devalued their services were. And they're part of the 40 or 50% of Americans who make 50,000 and less, who are now suffering because when the pandemic occurred, everything stopped. Well, it didn't happen all over like that. It wasn't in Germany, and it wasn't in other parts of the EU either. And I know, since my own businesses were in construction and flooring, we didn't always have good years. Some years were really pretty crummy. Did I let go of my labor? No, I didn't. Even if I had to put them on salary and find small jobs for them to do, I did it. No one told the rental car companies to get rid of their fleet. And then now, when people really want to travel, they don't have sufficient supply. And for the energy companies, they're just doing what they always do. They're just making profits up front. Nobody told them they shouldn't gear up for, at some point, the end of the pandemic. No, that was their choice. Not only did they not use the money that they were paid to upgrade their equipment, but they waited to gouge people. And really, I don't know how people in the middle class are going to pay so much money for fuel that's slated for them for this winter. Not right. Not right at all. Because it didn't have to happen. It's short-sightedness. It's their profit first and don't think about tomorrow attitude that has gotten us into trouble. All I can say is the inflation can be short-lived. You bet. But we got to see that for the Families Act passed, the infrastructure bills passed, and give the American people a chance to become important and part of the significant bell curve that we used to be. Then you won't have inflation because people will be able to pay their rents, they will be able to pay their mortgages, they will buy other goods and services, and they will not be making the capital expenditures that they made to adjust for the pandemic. So it's up to government. They've got those bills, and it's time to pass them before people are really, really starving. As it is now, many people are food insufficient, don't have enough money for health care, and have probably exhausted all their savings. So there are no hidden strikes out there. They're out in the open. If you're unionized, folks are striking. If you're not unionized, people don't want to go back to work when there's only a promise that they're going to be paid. And nurses, they're burnt out. How much can people take? It's not the vaccine mandates that are causing the problem. It's the lack of them that is, so that we have a uniform system where we don't have to be afraid of outbreaks. In my own city, I am dismayed that de Blasio, as a last act of doing what's right, has not mandated the vaccines for kids. We already know they work, and with luck, they'll be out before Halloween. Every child should get it. It beats being sick in the hospital, and it beats having only one parent left in your family. So do what's right, everyone. Think about today. Think about your family. Think about your community. And think, how can we have a better way of life? And for me, I support those strikers wherever you are. No person should be abused. Everyone's entitled to benefits, and everyone's really entitled to a vacation. So, God bless you all. And I know I'm going to be back next week. So, take care, have a glorious day, and be as upbeat as you can, because there are really good things that are happening. And I guess that's what I'll discuss next week. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye now.